had to land a $127,000 job in the next 14 days. This is exactly what I would do. And this is what you can do too if you are trying to do the same. If you are looking for a job as a front-end developer, this is the exact step-by-step roadmap, checklist, itemized list that you can follow to start earning what you finally deserve. And I know your time is valuable, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, before I go in and explain exactly what I would do and what I've done in the past, let me explain what most people do, and let me explain how you can go about this a little smarter. All right, so if this is you on the left, you are a Wii engineer, or maybe you have some experience in the field and you just want to get another high-paying job. Maybe you're in between roles, maybe you want to get paid more, who knows, whatever, doesn't matter. This applies for everyone. Okay, so if you are like everybody else, we'll just call this the 99%. This is what you do when you go and apply for a job, right? You reach for the easy things. You maybe go to LinkedIn, or you maybe go to Indeed, the average job boards, okay? And what are you gonna do on these average job boards? You are gonna take your resume, just drop it in the pile with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other competitors, other engineers who are also trying to land the same job, the same high-paying role that you are, all right? And, there's nothing wrong with that. You're just making it way harder on yourself than it needs to be, all right? So the reason this can be pretty tricky is because you're competing with, not only the people in your city, the people in your state, the people in your country. If you're in the United States, people in your country. If you're worldwide, if it's a remote role, you might be competing against everyone in the freaking world. And, if you're the best on paper, yeah, you can go do this. I personally wasn't, so this strategy wasn't amazing for me. All right, so here's exactly what I would do instead. And I've gone ahead and made this label up here. This is 99%. So this is what most people do. And it's the equivalent of taking the roundabout path. It's the equivalent of taking the roundabout path to getting where you want to go. And by the way, this is a crown. This represents the high-paying job that you are going for, right? It would only make sense if you're trying to get somewhere fast as possible. The straightest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So why not just take the shortcut? Why not just go straight here? All right. So the first thing I would do if I'm trying to land a $127,000 job in 14 days, first thing I'm going to do is track my stats. All right. Track your stats. Who have you applied to? Where have you applied? All right. Where did you apply on? What is the link? Who is the contact person you went through, or was it applied online? How many times have you followed up? Did they get back to you? What stage of the application are you in? You need to actually track all of this stuff. And why do you need to track this? This is going to give you insight into which part of, the application process that is your bottleneck, all right? So is your resume not getting interviews? Are you getting to the interviews but failing the phone screen? Are you getting past the phone screen but failing the technical part of the interviews, right? When you track your stats like this, it becomes very clear what is actually the bottleneck in your job application process. And when you understand the bottleneck, then you can obviously just solve the bottleneck, right? Application search. There's no brand new problems in going and earning a high paying job. Everything is very solvable. We've seen it before, right? So that is definitely the first thing that I would go and do if I was trying to land a high paying job ASAP. The second thing that I would do today in this day and age, if I was trying to land a high paying job ASAP, so I would set up a automatic applier. And the reason I would go ahead and do this is all of a sudden, this right here puts you on the same playing field as the 99%, if not past the 99%, just with this one simple trick, right? So there's a ton of them out there. One is called Job Copilots. 10x More, I'm not affiliated with them at all, but it's the first one that popped up on Google. They all do the same thing. Basically, you give them a resume, answer a few questions, and all of a sudden, it's just going to look at Indeed and go ahead and submit your application as if you're an engineer for it. And so this is just a basic way you can cover that box, right? You can cover that box of LinkedIn and Indeed, and this is what 99% of people are doing, right? So this is a volume game. This is a volume game and you're competing against the world. So you might as well just check this box right here. Next thing that I would do is I would go to my network and I would start asking people one by one. I would go through every person on my LinkedIn list or every person that I know and say, hey, look, as company hey, I'm trying to break into the industry, or I'm trying to land in my next role as company you're at, are you guys looking for anything? Do you have open roles? So on and so forth. And now if you're in college or something, you might not have the network yet for this, right? So you guys aren't yet professionals, but if you're a bit older and if you're transferring industries, you should have a Rolodex of people by now that you can reach out to and just be like, hey, look, this is my skill set, this is where I'm trying to go. If you are hiring for anything, and or if you have any friends or colleagues or anything like that are hiring for these roles, I would love if you could put me in contact with them, all right? So your warm referrals, these are going to lead to the most referrals and interviews than any other method out here, okay? So if you have these, definitely use them. So the next method that I would use would be to talk to the current engineers. Talk to the current engineers of the places that you're trying to go, right? Say, hey, look, I'm trying to break into this industry, or hey, this is my skill set. I saw you work here. I really love that company. Would you mind would you mind sharing your experience over 10 minutes? Would you mind, if we chatted for 10 minutes, I want to hear what you've learned in this role so that I can make myself better, something along those lines. Maybe think or toy with that wording so it's not just about you. There's something that they get out of it as well. Just have a conversation with the engineers. What is their day-to-day like? What do you recommend for somebody in my shoes? So on and so forth. And if you can genuinely ask for their advice and they believe that you are taking their advice to heart and they believe that they're making a difference, they're much more likely to actually refer you to not only a role they're at, but maybe a role at a different place. They're much more likely to refer you to a role where you can start getting paid $127,000 or however much you want to get paid in that role. And why? So most companies will pay a referral fee or a bonus to anyone who can refer an engineer that gets hired, right? In full transparency, a lot of times this bonus can be pretty substantial, anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000, $20,000, $25,000 for anyone who can make it past the interview and actually get hired. You'll realize is good engineers are pretty scarce, right? So if you get great skills and great stats, it's like you will be able to land a job with the salary that you desire, right? Everybody says the job market's saturated, this and that. What I will say to that is yes, it is saturated with a lot of developers. It is saturated with a lot of engineers. What I would say is mediocre engineers. It's very rare to find good engineers, great engineers out there, right? And so if you can make yourself a great developer, all of a sudden you are competing against far fewer people than you actually think. So talk to other engineers, have a conversation with them, and if the conversation goes well, don't force it. If the conversation goes well, then all of a sudden you can ask for a referral. What's a referral going to do? It's going to get you the interview, at which point it is on you to make the job actually happen. Right, so that is the fourth point. Now, the fifth thing that I would do is actually talk to the decision makers. All right, so everybody, not everybody, but a lot of engineers think they can only apply online. They think they can only talk to engineers. They think they can only talk to the recruiter, to the HR. And, that's fine. And it can work to some extent, right? But why wouldn't you just shortcut that path and talk to the actual person or people that cut the check for the recruiter, that actually pay the recruiter, right? Don't you think they have a little more leeway, a little more pull than the recruiter himself or herself, whoever the recruiter is or whatever? If you could just go direct, talk to the person that's ultimately going to pay your salary, don't you think that's a shorter path? Don't you think that, if they enjoyed talking with you, that they would move mountains to make sure that they got you on their team, that they got you to a place where you could start contributing to their company and you could start making them money and so on and so forth, right? The whole point of this is if you can prove that you're valuable to the people that actually matter, the people that are going to be paying your salary, they're much more willing to take a chance on you, to give you an interview, to push you through an interview when maybe, there was a deal breaker between you and another candidate. And like, you know what, I talked to this guy personally, I really liked him, and for that reason, I'm going to push him forward, all right? So talk to the actual decision makers. So what does this look like in practice, okay? If the CEO of a company makes content online, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, or whatever, you can just reach out, just start the conversation. Hey man, love your content, I like this video in specific because this is what I learned, and so on and so forth. Just start the conversation. What you might find is if you start with an immediate ask, a lot of people will just shut down because they're like, hey, I don't know you. I don't know who you are. Why are you asking me things? Why are you asking favors of me? I don't even know you. I don't owe you anything, right? But if you just start the conversation, hey, love what you're doing. I love this video in specific because I learned X, Y, and Z. And by the way, excuse me. And by the way, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is how I can contribute value. You're much more likely to land the interview, to move to the next step, to actually land this high paying job that you're after, okay? And by the way, so with the automatic applier, with referrals, with talking to engineers, with talking to decision makers, track all this stuff, okay? You can very easily see now, like, how many applications are you actually submitting, right? If you're not doing at least 10, 20, 50 applications a day, you are falling behind. So a lot of people think, oh, you know, I can just submit 2 to 5 applications a day. Well, look, there's people out there submitting hundreds of applications a day. It is in your best interest to play the volume game. Not only do you want to hit cold traffic, so this would be cold traffic, you can also get your warm traffic, right? So get your cold traffic, get your warm traffic, and then I would even call this hot. If you can convert these cold people, these people that you don't know, to hot traffic and make them like you, make them want you on your team, 9 times out of 10, and I've seen this work for me, I've seen this work for colleagues as well. If you can actually establish a relationship with the CEO, the CTO, the VP of engineering, your likelihood of shortcutting the line to getting paid what you want goes tremendously up, all right? So if I was trying to make $127,000 in the next 14 days, this is exactly what I would do. This is the 1% path. This is the shortcut that I would take today to get to the money as fast as possible, all right? So if this was helpful, go ahead and like the video. So if this was helpful to you, if you enjoyed the video, I've actually made another free training for you that I'll include down below in the description. It's going to go over step by step exactly how I broke into this industry, how I started making $175,000 within just a matter of a couple years. And so if that interests you, go ahead and get the free training below. It's in the description. And thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.